Shaylon Michael Lane Royer. I'm originally from Lafayette, Louisiana. I moved to Green Pine, Alabama when I was about 14 years old. Story starts, I had been up, about 2 weeks, hadn't had any sleep. I was at some friend's house or whatever, had been partying, whatever. Finally crashed. Finally, I went to sleep. Woke up the next morning, felt, kind of crazy. That day wasn't nothing, surprising, nothing weird happened or anything. Went to sleep the next night, and I was sleeping on the floor because my back was hurting. So I was, I guess, dehydrated and whatnot from the drugs. So I was sleeping on the floor, laid on my back, or on my stomach rather, and I had my feet next to the bedside table. Had a lamp on it, a little deer lamp, and I don't know, I guess for whatever reason I moved my feet, it caught the electric cord for the lamp, and it pulled the lamp down on top of me. And the way it fell, it landed light bulb first on me, like on the back of my leg. Well, the light bulb busted, and it grabbed me, like the electricity, it began to shock me. And at the first instance, I didn't really know what was going on. I just, all I knew that something had grabbed a hold of me, and I'm not that small of a guy. Nothing really ever grabs a hold of me like this did. This, whatever it was, I didn't really know at the moment. It grabbed me and flipped me over on my back, it felt like, and was holding me there. And like I said, the first couple seconds, I didn't know what was going on. All I knew was that something had me. Something very powerful had me and wasn't letting go and wasn't letting me move. And, the way the breaker was set up, come to find out, the breaker was jumped with a piece of wire, which didn't allow the breaker to flip right away, so it held me for a little longer than I think it would have if it wouldn't have been set up that way. And something in the pitch black darkness told me, though, it was almost like a comforting feeling that let me know what it was. It said, it didn't say it out loud, but it let me know, you're going to be all right. It's just the lamp. You're being electrocuted. Calm down. Which is crazy to think, something was like, calm down, you're just being electrocuted, because that's not something to be calm over. Anyways, so I'm sitting there, once finally it stopped, I was able to, catch my breath, and it scared me, no doubt, but still I wasn't crying. I was just a little bit shook up, I knew, at first I was terrified because I didn't know what had grabbed me. But then I knew, okay, you're good, you're all right, everything's cool. So ended up falling back asleep eventually. And then I woke up again the next day, and I was telling, I had told the people that were there about what had happened, and I was like, dude, look at the lamp. It's creepy looking, and I had even drawn an upside down cross on its forehead as a joke, just laughing, haha, it's a demon deer, it's possessed. Anyways, everybody, at first thought it was funny. It was a joke, because it was, and that's how I was looking at it, as a coincidental happening. I had no idea how to explain it. Later on that day, I just kept thinking, what if it was some sort of a sign? But at the same time, something was just telling me, normal, what, it's just a coincidence, nothing, don't worry about it. You're crazy. It wasn't nothing but an accident. But I kept on thinking, no, it had to be a sign. There was just other things that kept lining up that day, stuff people said, things that I realized, that it just had to be something other than what I thought it was. After I got enough of people, not necessarily making fun, but when I brought up the fact that it could have been a sign, they were making jokes about it and whatnot. I got fed up, went, took a shower. And I was, I was looking in the mirror, brushed my hair, had this crazy thought came across. And I was like, you know, in the last 2 weeks, I've probably lost 10, 15 pounds. I probably haven't eaten a bite of food. You know, I was like, I'm looking a little bit slimmer, you know, looking good. And at that moment, I was like, you know, my God, what did I just tell myself? I just looked in the mirror and told myself that I looked better because of the drugs. Which I know is not true, because I'm not a drug, you know, I know I wasn't put on this earth to be a dope head or a drug user. I was put on this earth for something. And anyways, I said that to myself, and at that moment, I said, God, please save me. And I didn't say it like out loud, I just said it to myself, but instantly I felt like this overwhelming feeling, like this weight, like the breath was just ripped out of my chest. It felt like, but it wasn't a bad feeling at all. It was actually the best feeling I've ever had, better than any drug that I've ever used or anything like that. And it was just a feeling of like forgiveness and just, you know, rebirth almost. I don't know, it's unexplainable really still, you know, and I don't know, I knew what it was. There's no questioning what it was, because I had realized, you know, I grabbed onto the counter when it started to happen, and I was like, what's going on? You know, I thought I was having a stroke, a heart attack or something. I didn't know. No idea. And then I realized, holy cow, I just said, God, please save me, and he's doing it. And it was just overwhelming, because I've always been afraid that I would not be able to make it to heaven. If there was one, I wasn't never sure. It's just crazy that it happened to me, and it was so blatant, because I've never been really religious at all. I've, you know, never stuck to a certain church. If I did go to one, it wasn't for the church, you know, there was other reasons. I just never, you know, and I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me still why it was me that this happened to. I haven't, you know, completely figured it out yet. I just know that, you know, I feel that this story needs to reach people. And because if there's anybody that questioned faith, it would be me. Because I've always been asking for answers, and the whole time I was getting them, I just never realized it, because I wasn't looking, or I was ignoring them. Like, I've never won anything. No raffle, no drawing. Like, I've never won a scratch off, anything, gambling, anything like that. I've never won. Never. At least I've never won anything for free. And after that happened that night in the mirror, when I was looking myself in the mirror and that happened, it's like I felt like I had gotten something from somebody that not everybody gets to have. It was just, I could feel like something was telling me, you know, here's what you've been looking for. It's like directly after it happened, you know, I went right back into, you know, out of the bathroom, and, you know, I was like, you know, okay, this just happened. And being that they were all, like, people that were there were already giving me a hard time about the whole lamp incident, I was like, okay, well, I definitely can't tell them what just happened in the bathroom, because, you know, they're gonna take me home or something, you know, they're gonna think I'm out of my mind. And but anyway, so I just was like, you know, okay, I need something to take the edge off. Lit up a cigarette, you know, and I took a puff of it, and it just wasn't really what, you know, it had been. I don't know, it's just like, I guess moral of the story, I'm working on quitting smoking, which I feel like is going to be a lot easier this time. But I haven't had the want or the, you know, the need, so to speak, to use, you know, the hard drugs at all. Like, it's almost like I feel if I were to use them, it'd be like me slapping, you know, like God in the face. And it's really not only that, I just don't even feel the craving for it anymore. It's, I don't know, it's odd, honestly. It was the first time I ever actually was like, okay, I'm not gonna do it again. Every other time it was just like, you know, ooh, okay, I need some rest. It's time for a little break. I need to, you know, eat something, get some sleep, and then wake up, and then whatever happens, happens. But this time was different. It was like I don't at all have any want for it. I would have never found this place if it wasn't for skateboarding. I would have never found, you know, this church. I would have never ended up going to a Sunday service if it wouldn't have been for the skate park, because I met, you know, I ended up here through people that I met through skateboarding, you know, and if it wouldn't have been for skateboarding, I wouldn't have ended up at the skate park and then ended up, you know, come and help out for a Sunday, during Sunday. And then, you know, I wouldn't have ever, you know, been here at all. I would have never found out about it, period, if it wouldn't have been for skateboarding. It's definitely, you know, it reaches out to a lot of people that normally wouldn't be reached, you know, wouldn't experience anything like it. It's just, you know, the atmosphere around here, you know, nobody, you know, there's still the couple people that, you know, mess with other people and give people a hard time, but there's really not, you don't ever hear about any fights or anything going on like that. You know, it's always calm. Everybody's, you know, as far as I can tell, feels welcome, and nobody ever gives anybody a hard time, for real. It's pretty chill. It always has been, as long as I can remember. It's just, I know it has, you know, there's no questioning it, and I can feel the devil still trying to tell me that it's something it's not. But now that this has happened, I know for a fact that there's nothing that's unforgiven. That you just have to ask and truly want. There's just no questioning it had that been God. There's nothing else that can explain it.